Hello friends, and welcome to lesson 27, which our goal today is that we can generate simple equivalent fractions by using a visual fraction model and the number line to help us. So let's go ahead and get started on our warm-up. All right, so on this activity, we are going to be creating equivalent fractions by looking at the first fraction, identifying it, and then making an equivalent fraction that takes up the same amount of space in the other picture. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So in this first fraction, we see that it is 1/2. So we want to find an equivalent fraction to 1/2 that's using fourths. How many fourths would need to be shaded in order to take up the same amount of space? 2, exactly. So it would take 2/4 to equal 1/2 because they are both equivalent when they take up the same amount of space. All right. What about for 1/2 here? How many 6 would need to be shaded in order to show us 1/2? 3/6. 3/6 is absolutely correct. Let's keep going. All right. What fraction do you see here? 2/8. All right, so how many fourths would you need to shade in to show the same amount of space that 2/8 takes up? Exactly, just one. So it would only take 1/4 to equal 2/8, right? Because as the pieces get bigger, that means it's going to take up, each one whole is going to use up more space. And when the pieces are smaller, you have to have more of the small parts. All right. What fraction do you see in this picture? 5/10. All right, so how many halves is 5/10 equal to? Well, guess what? It is. So it's 1/2. All right, so we're going to be doing a little activity. And for this activity, you are going to need a blank sheet of paper. It could just be regular notebook paper also, and some scissors, and something to write with. You can use a pencil or a pen. I'm going to use a marker. All right, so what we're going to do first is it says to cut out 3 strips of paper that are all equal size and length. So we have 1, 2, 3. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to take our strips and we are going to fold all of them into 2 equal parts. What do we call 2 equal parts again? Half, yes. We're going to fold them all into half. So I'm going to take my first one, fold it in half. Take my second one, fold it in half. Take my third one, and you guessed it, fold it in half. Okay. So after you have folded your 3 strips of paper, and you can pause me anytime if I'm going too fast and you get caught up. After we do that, we are going to take 1 strip and we're going to label it as halves and put it aside. So 1/2, 1/2, just like so, and put it aside. The next direction says to take a different strip and to fold each half into half. This seems really familiar. So I have my one that's already folded in half, and now I'm going to fold it in half once again. When I've just broken my half into half, what kind of a unit did I make? I doubled it, so it made fourths. All right, so let's go ahead and label our fourths. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. All right, and put it aside. All right, then we're going to take our last strip. We're going to fold it into half, like it's already done. We're going to fold it into half one more time and into half again. So you're going to fold it a total of 3 times. So watch me one more time. So you have your half. So you fold it in half one time. That's already done. fold it in half again, and fold it in half for the last time. So it should have a little piece about this big. All right, now once I open it up, how many total parts are there total? There's 8, which means I have 8. Let's go ahead and label it again. 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. All right. So why we did that was because our fraction strips could actually be really helpful in solving our problem set. So if you look at your number strips, you notice that 1/2 and 4ths, they are 1/2 and our 4ths line up perfectly. Just like it showed in our picture, we can have 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4, or we could switch that out and do it with 8ths. And we see by our fraction strips that it takes 1, 2, 3, 4/8 to equal 1/2. And if we want to put all 3 of those together, we see that 1/2 is equal to 2/4, which is also equal to 4/8. All right, so let's go ahead and look at a couple of questions to solve for our problem set. The first one says, on the number line above, use a red colored pencil to divide each whole into 4ths and label each fraction above the line. Use a fraction strip to help you estimate if necessary. So you have your fraction strips available to help you if you need help. All right, so first of all, it's already divided into 4ths for us, so let's go ahead and label those fractions. So we have 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and of course, once we get to 1 whole, we know that that's going to be 4/4. So what we're going to do next is it says to use a blue pencil to divide each whole into 8ths. So your clue here is that 8ths are made up of 4ths that are cut in half. So just like when we made our 4ths and then you folded the 4ths in half, when you cut the 4ths in half, it gave you 8ths, right? So that's what you are going to be doing onto your number line, is you're going to make them into 8ths and label them. Once you have that done, it'll be pretty easy for you to see which ones are equivalent fractions. So on number 3, it says list the fractions that name the same place on the number line. We call those equivalent fractions. Remember, if 2 fractions are on the exact same spot on the number line, that means that they're equivalent. They have the same value. So you're going to be looking for all the equivalent fractions that you can find on the number line. All right, so I'm going to help you with one more question from your problem set. So if you want to go ahead and flip over to question number 5 that says write 2 different fractions on the dot on the number line. You can use halves, thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, or eighths. Use fraction strips to help you if necessary. All right, so let's figure out what fraction is being shown on that first one. So remember, we're going to count the hops. So I noticed that there are 1, 2, 3. There's 3 hops in order to get to 1 whole, which means that we're talking about thirds. So we know that whatever fractions we have here, since we had to do 3 hops, is something out of 3, or thirds. Right? So how many of those thirds is going to be at that first line? Good, 1/3. So, and then of course the next one after that we're going to write is 1/3 over there on the side. So how are we going to find another fraction that's equivalent by using the same number line? Well, just like we did from our halves to our fourths and fourths to our eighths, we're going to take those thirds and we're going to cut them in half. Let's cut them in half and see what we get. All right, now how many equal parts are there? Yeah, it's 6. All right, so how many 6 would it take in order to get to 1/3? 2 6. It would be 1/3 is equivalent to 2 6 because 1/3 and 2 6 are on the same spot on the number line. Right? And now if we were to do it as a quick equivalent, we could also figure out a way to make an equivalent fraction. So remember, to make an quick equivalent, you take your fraction And then first you count by the numerator, which in this case is 1. So let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then after we count by our numerator a few times, we're going to go to our denominator and skip count by the denominator, which in this case is 3. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12. And then just like we saw before, we have that 2, 6 as an equivalent fraction, but we also see other equivalent fractions that would also work as well. So as you are working on this, you can use both ways by using the number line and using your quick equivalents to help you double check, okay? All right, friends, well, that is it for today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I love seeing you at my Zoom lessons Mondays and Wednesdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Love you guys. Bye.